G'day Scrappers. Today I'm processing or semi-processing these CPUs, the Pentium 4 with heat sinks and the gold pins. All I'm trying to really do here today is just separate all the copper and make a decision on whether I just sell the copper or we go for the little bit of gold underneath it. And yeah, I just want to bring these all down to a green fiber CPU category, and that's just by removing the heat sinks. So what I got here are these bigger ones, the AMD etc. So these are a really nice size. I got 10 kilos here exactly, so I just wanted to weigh up and see after doing 10 kilos how much I get of the heat sinks and how much I get of just the green fiber. And here these are the smaller version, same deal, tin plated or maybe nickel plated aluminium copper heatsink, and the gold pins. The only obvious difference between these two, obviously size, but also these mostly just have your gold pins, okay, whereas these ones have a combination of gold pins and MLCCs inside there. So kind of slightly different process in the end, I guess, or because if you use a heat gun or heat to remove these pins, you're also going to remove the MLCCs. So yeah, probably a bit more complicated, where these ones are straightforward. We just got pins and copper. So probably start off with these big ones. We'll just change slightly different light. Okay, so all I do, because the heatsink is slightly smaller than the actual fiber, all I want to do is just wedge the fiber in the vise. It doesn't touch the heatsink, and it's obviously, I mean, it's, geez, if you can't work out what to do with this, it's just a matter of running a screwdriver through it and popping off our heatsink. And so now what we've got is yep, tin copper heatsink, easily sellable. And now we've got, well, here's the MLCCs here underneath instead of on top with the with these ones. So what we end up now is just a green fiber CPU, just very much the same. I can't get to them now, as your regular green fiber. This little part underneath here, what you see where the silicon chip is and so on, the main metal in there is indium, and indium is not really an expensive metal. It's only worth $200 a kilo. It's about a quarter of what silver is worth, so, but it is easy to melt down and process if you did want to play around with indium, but that's up to you. The other thing I noticed is this heatsink here doesn't have any gold plating whatsoever, so a bit unusual, but it really might just be certain models, certain manufacturers, some put it, some don't. So let's see if we can find okay, all right, so this one's a little bit different. You can really see the dye in amongst all that, but same deal, very tiny little MLCCs, and here's the base, and we can see obviously gold. But the problem here is if you're going to go for the gold, you've got to clean all this indium stuff and this dye as well off, and it's quite difficult. sort of chipping away at it. You might use a very sharp chisel, like a wood chisel, and that might get into it and chip it off. But there you can see gold plating, but I do have ones I've done before, so you can see all the all the dies are different size. So this one gives a much better example, quite a bit more gold, and it's actually not. It might, you know, seem like gold flashing, but it's actually kind of like almost like a gold plating. And here's one of the smaller ones, and where I've scratched off most of it, but it just takes too long. But the gold in these are pretty good, because some of you might know the gold recovery, one of the guys on YouTube, 999 Desan. Yeah, he used a solution to see if he could separate the gold. I need a slightly bigger screwdriver here. And yeah, he used some solution to get the gold off these, and I think it was hydrochloric, can't remember, and the gold actually floated on top, and they were gold foils. If it was flashed, it would have probably virtually dissolved. Here's another one with none, so there's no question what I do with these ones. Without any gold plating, they're going to just be sold as tinned copper through the year. Just still debating whether I should do anything with this. Oh yeah, this one doesn't have any anyway. Yeah, just debating what I do with these ones with the actual gold plating. Yeah, just not sure yet whether to just. I mean, there is quite a bit of gold, but well, we'll get into it. But I think not sure about the pins, but they're usually very good quality gold pins. I haven't really looked into them yet. So with these, apparently you get about 1/4 gram of gold per kilo of heat sinks. Now obviously they do vary. You've got big ones, small ones, so I'm not sure if it exactly balances out. There might be slightly difference in doing the two, but yeah, apparently about 1/4 gram of gold per kilo of these. 1/4 gram is worth about $20. So 1 kilo of heat sinks, or 2 pounds, $20 worth of gold from these. So you got to sort of debate whether that's worth it, or whether we just sell the copper and then we focus more on the gold pins. But yeah, so for the 10 kilos I've got here, there might be about 2.5 grams of gold. So we're talking about a couple $100 worth of gold in this entire 10 kilo bucket. And then the other one inside, there's another 2.5 grams of gold. So I mean, 2.5 grams, yeah, it adds up, but there's a lot of work to do to, you know, start. You've got to clean all these off perfectly. And then I dare say the best process would be to reverse electroplate each one as you go. Just clamp your positive onto there in your solution, and it should come off pretty quickly. But yeah, so that's my debate right now, is I'm going to process these, and just do I keep all of these ones with the gold to get you know, 2.5 grams per 10 kilos. You know, yeah, $200 worth of gold for every 10 kilos of this stuff to process. You still got your solution, and obviously time, and there's always risks involved. But yeah, but mostly, yeah, you're spending money first on yeah, chemicals and your setup, and yeah. So it's not. I think the pins. I don't know the stats of the actual pins. Once we recover these, I think they're a pretty good gold plating. But I think, see, here's another one with no gold. So we're getting a bit of a pattern here. Here's a different type. Yeah, we just want to break this down into, turn it into a green fibre, but huge heat sink. So yeah, I might just, because 10 kilos of these just in copper is here, it's worth $90. So I do have quite a lot of these heat sinks, or these CPUs. Yeah, this one doesn't have one either. So it's sort of making it the decision a little bit easier for me. Each one I do, if there's no gold, let's do a couple of these smaller ones. I think these smaller ones will probably all have a bit of gold, but just have a little look. Yep, how's that? Nothing again. So I'm not having a very good run here. Getting the gold ones, well, if that's the case, we're going to get down to so little that I'll probably just end up keeping some the gold ones, none again, because I think I will be doing some form of electro or reverse electroplating, and with other items that are just sort of too big to process. So here we got one. So there we go. Got our little gold, indium. Got to scratch all that off, chip it away. And yeah, so it's just debatable for me. Do I keep these ones and not sell them? You know, I've got probably over 100 kilos of just these kind of CPUs. So, you know, I'm holding a lot of weight, and you've got to drag around a lot of weight. So I'm thinking, do I just turn them over, get copper, and you know, for every 10 kilo miss out on a couple $100 maybe, whereas 10 kilo I'm getting $90 in copper. So technically, going by what people have been getting, there still is like 3 times more gold on this than there is value in the copper. But yeah, it's a long way to go before getting the gold out. And but for hobbyists and smaller time, well, it's there, and in the end you don't lose any copper. And I'm just worried about the scrapyard not accepting these with a bit of silicon and indium on them. Probably going to have to clean them up anyway to sell it as clean, clean, I don't know, irony copper. Well, not irony copper, dirty copper. Clean, dirty copper. It doesn't make sense, but okay. Yeah, but these big ones, I'm surprised haven't. I've cracked a few previously with the gold, but surprised that the ones I've picked so far have none. But this is what I really want. This is all we want, is the gold pins. And like I said, there are, you know, you could put it on, drop this onto a hot plate, and then shake off the pins or use a heat gun. Either way, you're going to have to deal with these tiny little MLCCs running around there. But yeah, that's all I'm going to be doing for the rest of the day. And then what I'm going to do is just weigh up at the end, out of 10 kilos of CPU, how much of that is the copper. And yeah, another one without. So let me plod along, and if I find something interesting as we go, I'll turn the video back on. But yeah, let's see, one more. Gold or no gold? No gold. Yeah. Well, my decisions are getting easier with each one I do. And yeah, and in the end, all I do with these, throw these in with the existing pinless, green fibre CPUs, and yeah, same value now. So it does kind of increase the value of this now, because a green fibre CPU is worth more than one with a heatsink, but obviously it's a lot lighter now, and now we're just buying the pins. And yeah, all right, I'll get back once I've organised and smashed through a whole bunch of these. Okay, so I've done the first 10 kilos of these bigger ones. Yeah, and as suspected, there wasn't that many gold plated ones. So there's a nice gold plated one, still got the indium and stuff, but I think less than 10% of these CPUs had had gold, and yeah, so 90% didn't have gold. So the last batch that I was doing seemed to have a few more gold ones, but I done dozens in a row where absolutely no gold whatsoever. So I'd say less than 10%. There's one, it's got a double silicon chips. Yeah, so I don't think there's going to be enough to even worry about keeping them separate. I do have probably a bag full of, you know, just these with the gold, but I still just don't think there's enough there to justify doing a setup for all these. I'm not sure. I'll see how I go. It really depends on the smaller ones. So that's just 10 kilos of these big ones, but you know, and as far as weight is concerned, out of 10 kilos there's still 9 kilos of tin plated copper. And then obviously now we've got the green fibers, we've regraded. So here's a couple of different ones, and it's all just gold pins, and now without the heatsink, they're a green fiber CPU. The only thing is we still have these tiny little MLCCs. Yeah, whether, I'm not sure, it's a bit tricky to tell whether they're actual MLCCs or are they resistors, because you know they've got like little legs, and MLCCs usually are mounted from left to right on the narrower sides and not along the long bits. So that's the only thing that distracts me. You know, I would like, if I ever get near a XRF, I would like to XRF one of these, but it's only going to be whatever comes up from the surface. And so I guess one thing we can do is just take them off, and if they are MLCCs, we can determine the quality of them by putting them under a magnet. If they're magnetic, they're most likely not going to be noble metal MLCCs, but if they're non-magnetic, the only thing is, because these have got different legs on the sides, those legs might actually be nickel plated, and nickel is slightly magnetic, so it might mess it up anyway. But hey, you know, And that's basically what a green fibre traditionally looks like. Green fibre CPU, just like that. And as you can see, the MLCCs are on the front. And they're a different type of MLCC. These are more what I would consider MLCCs. These ones still had the heatsink, obviously, so I took them off. But most of this 10 kilos was this stuff. And there we go. So yeah, we've definitely got a good kilo of green fibre that we can add to my green fibre stack. And this copper, temporarily I'll separate the golds, but this copper will be sold sometime through the year, because I just got a feeling that copper's gonna go to another level. And at the moment I can get $9 a kilo for tinned copper or burnt copper. So I reckon if I hold off for a few months, I reckon instead of $9 a kilo, could get $13 a kilo or $14 a kilo. And that's a pretty good investment, 50% over a few months. So this barrel is quite heavy, and it's a mixture of both of these kind of CPUs. Another bucket there. Now, so yeah, I thought no point in trying to weigh up and get any real figures, because everyone is going to be different, even the way they pop open. Some leave a lot of residue on the copper, some leave a lot of residue on the actual green fibre part, and so to get exact measurements or exact weights, it's not going to make much difference, because everyone will have slightly different results. So here's that 10 kilos that I pulled out of this, and all I'm hoping for now is that I've got a feeling that they're going to be much more of these ones, the smaller ones, with gold plating compared to the bigger ones. And also there were about a half a dozen of these bigger ones, which also have the heatsink, but they're actually, instead of fibre, they're actually a ceramic. So ceramics and fibre are two different processes altogether, so they're quite hard to take off. You kind of got to smash them up a bit. But here what we've got left is what would have been a green fibre, still got the same pins. We just we're on ceramic now, so a little bit like the back of an AMD ceramic. Still has MLCCs on it, so these don't go with the green fibre CPUs anymore. Now that we've got the copper heatsink off, we've got ourselves ceramic CPUs, so you throw these in with your other ceramics. And yeah, so but like I said, they're a little bit harder to, or quite a bit harder to separate the copper from the ceramic. Slightly bigger screwdriver, it really helps. Okay, so here we go, no gold, and just the green fibre now. What I did do is, whilst I was doing the 10 kilos of the first one, I did use a mask, and the reason is where are we? So here's one we did before, and it's still got this stuff on it, but when you're separating the copper from the fibre, you do bring up dust, and this is indium. And indium is not, when it comes into dust form, it's not a good thing to breathe in, obviously. Yeah, it's actually one of the bad things that you want to breathe in. I've got shards and everything here but I did notice as I was popping off a lot of the heat sinks, just dust coming up. So to just to give a bit of protection, I used a face mask. These face masks are pretty good. They're a pretty good quality that you get from your, you know, major hardware store, but only for dust particles and stuff. Since we're kind of talking about gold recovery, when it comes to gold recovery, where you're dealing with fumes, these masks, even if they cost you $50, they're not good enough for fumes. The fume masks are very specialized. They cost probably $300. If you're paying under $300, it's probably not the right mask. Fumes are a completely different thing. It's a much finer mask. It's much more specialized. This is still purely for dust, mostly like sawdust and stuff. Just a little health and safety tip there along the way. Well, yeah, so I'm hoping, like I said, that I'm gonna get more gold-backed heat sinks out of the smaller ones. And, you know, I do have, you know, probably 50 or 60 kilos of the smaller ones as well. So, yeah, well, there's another one without gold. So, yeah, if it's anything like the bigger ones, you know, sure, some of them are gold, but just not enough percentage-wise, just to have a decent enough to batch where I'm going to sit there and say, okay, today's the day I'm going to recover all the gold of these. You know, if I've only got 50 pieces or so, yeah, but I'll still think about it, and they'll be the last. These ones will be the last ones I sell to a scrapyard. If copper does go up through the year, I'll probably still hold on to these, and I'll make a decision. So yeah, that's all I'm going to do now, is just continue. So I wasn't sure what this video was going to really be about, like a lot of my videos. But oh well, so yeah, again, no gold on there, but still, it's given me motivation to at least start this process. And I've got to spend a few days on this, because it is a very tedious job. Just gets very mundane when you've got so many, and just like everything, gold recovery especially, components, you want to stay on top of. There we go, at least this one's a gold one. Yeah, really good. You want to stay on top of your accumulation, because it can really get out of hand. Like, you know, I've got well over 100 kilos, so we're looking at, like, you know, 250 plus pounds. And it's a lot to sit there and just process in one session, that's for sure. So you know, sometimes I'll get like a bag from other scrappers, and I really should be processing them as I go. And same as I'm pulling them out of PCs, I get one, instead of just throwing it into a bucket, I should just knock it off and get it out the way. But that's my problem. All right. Yeah, the garage is sort of like just sitting in limbo at the moment. It's very well cleaned out. Only got a few items here to scrap out. But aside from that, it's yeah, it's in a really easy moment where I can just within an hour clean out the whole thing, just about. Just a bit of junk sort of built up in one corner, but that's what I sort of intended to do. Instead of crawling over things all the time, just throw stuff in one corner for now, deal with the rest of the garage, and then deal with that another day if I get a chance. Alright guys, well, that's what I'm going to be doing for the next few days, I think, and just try and get these processed in this way, and at least then I can put this away into my green fibre stockpile and yeah, cash in on these. Yeah, I'm just hoping that the scrapyard will accept these as they are, with a little bit of silicon stuck on them, still as nickel plated copper. Still good copper. Yeah, alright, well, enough of me rambling on. I'm going to get back to this batch before I do any more. The smaller ones are just, well, there's a lot of them, and you know, you got to put in each one and tighten up the vise. I just wish I got on top of all this as they were coming in. And I've also got off-site storage, so no gold. So I dare say I've probably got a barrel of these elsewhere. So yeah, time to get on top of this anyway. I'm just blabbering. Yeah, hopefully that was a half decent video. A bit crappy, I just didn't know what I really wanted to do with this video, so it just turned out how it is. This is an older batch. I just got another big batch of these ram buses in, and I used to I actually take the time now and remove the shields and sell them as real ram. These ones are pretty good, the ones with the 2 steel clips that are holding the aluminium shields down. But these should come off pretty easy without, yeah, so as you can see, everything's there, aluminium, and all the BGAs remain, whereas different types, especially ones that don't have the, oh gosh, it happens every time I'm ending a video. My battery goes flat. I don't pay attention to how much charge is left, and it happens every time. Then I forget what I was talking about. But so what I was saying, which was a few seconds ago on video, so we've got clean aluminium. We do have this, it's like a little rubbery, silicone kind of stuff. Good to, you know, you want to kind of take that off if you want to sell these as aluminium. So at least we get clean aluminium here, and we've got very clean ram stick here, all the BGAs intact, really nice. You know, and they're quite high value now, because look how many ram sticks there are on there. There's 20 here, and 16 here, and then you got your pretty much useless for gold recovery silicon chip here, but still a good value ram stick for precious metal recovery. But what I was saying was a lot of them without these clips are stuck on so hard. Don't know if I've got one lying around, but when you take off the aluminium shield, all the BGAs will pop off the board and stick to the shield, and then even then it's really hard to skim off the BGAs off the shield. Here's an example. So this was you know, nice 16 gigabyte RAM, but there you go, it's been taken off the actual stick, but most of the BGAs have stuck to the stick. It doesn't really devalue your RAM if you're going to sell it as scrap RAM. You've got missing BGAs. If they're from RAM bus, we know the difference. So if you got regular RAM stick that doesn't have the shield, and you took off the BGAs, it would be very noticeable, because it's we know it's a regular RAM stick, and you've just removed the BGAs and then trying to sell the RAM as RAM. So you'll get undercut there, because end of the day, even the people, the company that I sell these to, they rely on the you know, on the what they get out at the end. So they're not necessarily always selling things like this. They're giving it to like a toll refiner in a way, but a very high level toll refiner. And so they send in a ton of RAM, and so they say, okay, out of this ton we got X amount of gold, X amount of platinum, X amount of silver, X amount of palladium, and they don't really worry about the copper. But yeah, so some of these are really, you know, really hard. These ones aren't too bad. You do get this glue stuff, so I try and clean off a little bit of that glue tape, and there's our little BGA. So I still, and I'll throw them into just BGAs without the gold corner, and you know, they're a high grade gold recovery thing, so you don't want to just pass them up. These ones I'll definitely get, but some are just impossible to scrape off these shields. They don't have this rubber backing underneath, and they're almost glued on. But that's just a little side thing. All right, well, I'm going to continue on here and drive myself absolutely crazy processing hundreds of these little CPUs. And gosh, let's see, do we get a gold one right at the end? No gold. So there you go. So I'm guessing the big one's definitely less than 10%, maybe around 10% from these as well. That's just how it goes. All right, guys. Actually, these RAMs came out of some really high-end thing. I can't even remember now. I must have scrapped one out on video, but very unusual, aren't they? But they're BGA, but they're a different BGA than these kind of BGAs. You can see they're like a silicon chip, right? These ones come off really easy, but these are very high gold recovery on these BGA. Well, they're actually not BGAs, they're just chips. And you can see, peel off this one, and there's still a silicon chip underneath, stuck to the board. But I don't know if you can see, but the legs are gold. The bonding wires will go all the way through this whole little thing. They're only very light. I'd love a few hundred kilos of these, but they're almost like a glass top. And so they're a memory chip, kind of similar to the old school standard kind of memory chips we see on older school RAM, or pretty much every board that's got a little bit of extra memory. So they're similar to that, but they're almost like a glass. And yeah, I didn't notice before, but underneath there is another one, and I think that might be just this glass substrate stuff. But these chips on the top, so I've got these separate because I wouldn't put this in with RAM, even though you do get, like, you take off the shield. I can sell these as RAM sticks. These are just too high a value, and there's even still gold bonding wires sticking this bottom one on. But these little chips here, I couldn't begin to guess how much per kilo of gold you would get, but we're talking high-end gold, and this is running all, and they're only very thin. They're paper thin, so it's all about the bonding wires. Gosh, I reckon there'd be half an ounce of gold per kilo, because they're just so light, maybe even more. So we're talking about, over $1,000, I reckon, a kilo. Anyway, that's it for another story. Just don't get enough. I mean, it's only the second batch of these I can't remember what they were from. They were from some kind of module. Yeah, I think they were from the Sun Microsystems box. Yeah, they definitely were. So because I know these are the second batch, and I had 2 of those big Sun Microsystem boxes, so that's what they came out of. And you got like 8 on each module, and there was like 8 modules in the system. Insane for gold recovery. All right, guys, I'm definitely rambling on. Sorry about that. It's Sunday. It's a beautiful day. The chicken's out. I've done a little bit of clothes washing and just everything's empty as far as all my tubs. Awesome. Got rid of a whole bunch of circuit boards and stuff. Just got a new batch come in. This is all just server type board. How's these ones? These aren't really a server grade. There's only 3 of them or so, so I had to grade these as motherboard because there's nothing on them, but they are high-end boards. It's just that there's not enough. There is a really cool chip here, but that's it, a little chip there. But they do have these giant gold band crystal oscillators, so I'm going to try and take off these. Sometimes these really big ones are really hard to get off the board, but yeah, I've even tried to use a heat gun, and that sort of gets them off, but it takes a lot. But as you can see, there's really not much on this board. It's you know, other side, it's pretty much blank, tiny chips. But you know, they're still going to get good gold recovery for it. But I had to buy these particular ones as motherboard, just to be safe. And sometimes you know, you win some, you lose some. The rest are just server boards. Anyway, guys, chickens are having a bit of a drink. We're all chilling out. I might go in and make myself a drink too. What do you reckon, Chooks? Cool bananas. All right, guys, keep scrapping, have fun, and I'll catch you real soon before Christmas.